All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this regular meeting of the Camarillo City Council of Wednesday, August 14, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Martinez-Bravo?
Here.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Here.
Councilmember Tennyson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kildee?
Here.
And Mayor Tremblay.
Here. Rachel, would you please bring us into closed session?
Yes, certainly. Mayor and Council, we have one item on closed session. It's pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9. It's the OPV Coalition versus Fox Canyon and various defendants. If there's any reportable action, I will make that report.
Thank you very much. We now stand in recess, and we will come back at 5 o'clock.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Camarillo Sanitary District. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. And Councilmember Tennyson, will you lead us in the flag salute? Thank you. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to general public comments. This will be time for the public to address the Camarillo Sanitary District. Seeing nobody come forward, we'll move to the consent calendar. We have
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call vote.
Director Kildy,
Yes.
Director Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Director Tremblay,
Yes.
Secretary Tennyson,
Yes.
and Chair Santangelo.
Yes, that passes unanimously. That brings us to discussion items, of which we have none. So that brings us to board and staff member comments and reports. Are there any? Seeing none, that brings us to adjournment. I will adjourn us until our next meeting.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the successor agency. Let the record reflect that all directors are here. Are there any public comments for the successor agency? Seeing none, we'll move to consent calendar. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion, a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kildy,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes. All right, that record will reflect that that item was adopted on a unanimous vote. I know there was a great deal of suspense going on regarding that. Any board and staff comments or reports? All right, hearing none, we'll adjourn this meeting of the successor agency. We'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting of the Camarillo City Council, regular meeting for August 14th. We can dispense with the roll call. The record will reflect that all council members are here. First up, we have a presentation by Dr. Richard Yao, the president of California State University Channel Islands. It's my privilege to call him to the microphone. Welcome aboard. Great to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening. To start out, I want to express my sincere thanks and deep appreciation for the ongoing support and dedication that the City of Camarillo, all of your elected officials, and the entire community provided CSU Channel Islands over the 22 years now of existence. And I'm honored to have this opportunity to be with you this evening on behalf of our entire campus community. And I'm proud to report that Channel Islands continues to evolve, driven by the dedication and passion of our faculty, staff, and students. And despite the many challenges of the last several years, we are committed to enhancing the university experience, building strong community connections, and addressing regional needs. And in this post-pandemic era, we are facing unique challenges in higher education, but we are responding with remarkable developments that highlight our commitment to academic excellence and positive impacts on students, families, communities, and the regional workforce. And the demographic landscape of Ventura County is changing, with the average age of residents increasing steadily. The median age of residents in 2021 stood at 38.7 years, a notable rise from 34.2 years recorded back in 2000. And as our county's collective median age has risen, we're seeing declining enrollment in our P-12 schools, community colleges, and four-year universities. And at Channel Islands, this decline has been precipitous, creating significant financial and other logistical challenges. And there are other factors contributing to enrollment decline, including a public perception that the value of higher education is decreasing, a belief that is not based on fact or data. Though routinely featured in headline news, the data underneath the headlines tell a very different story, and this is according to Sally Amoruso of Education Advisory Board. It's a nationally recognized consulting firm specializing in education technology, services, and research. For example, contrary to the narrative that a college education means lifelong debt, reality is that most borrowers owe them less than $25,000, which is a lot, but for reference, it's less than a car loan. The narrative that the return on the investment in a college degree is declining. However, the wage premium of a college degree, especially at the bachelor's level, is at a near decade high. The narrative that degree holders are not any better off than their non-degree holding peers. However, college graduates have higher rates of job satisfaction, financial well-being, and health. And the narrative that employers don't care about degrees anymore. However, hiring behaviors have not changed. While job postings may not state a degree requirement, employers are still more apt to hire college graduates. And if you'd like to have access to Amarusso's work, please reach out. Her findings at the national level are also borne out in the 2023 State of the Region report by the Ventura County Civic Alliance, which found that education pays, though a significant portion of the American people appear reluctant to believe it. Other factors impacting enrollment and student success are legacies of the pandemic, such as the sometimes staggering learning losses that we've seen in our P-12 schools, and deteriorated social skills, inability to regulate behavior, and elevated concerns about mental health for students and faculty even in higher education. And additionally, we're seeing a small decline in the percentage of high school graduates in Ventura County who have completed the course requirements needed for eligibility to enroll in the CSU and the UC systems, or as what we call A through G requirements. And these requirements, completed by 49% of the county's high school students in 2021, were completed by only 46% in 2023. And those numbers reflect completion rates for all graduates. The rates are much lower still for high school completers with disabilities, for our foster youth, unhoused youth, graduates who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and those who are minoritized by race and ethnicity. And with this overarching and broader context in mind, what is the future for our university? And more importantly, what does the current and future state of the university portend for the human, community, and workforce needs of the region we all serve? And the good news is that challenges hold the seeds of their own solutions, or as the business strategist Ryan Holiday puts it, the obstacle is the way. Our student body tells the story of our success, theirs and ours. I know it's cliche to say that diversity is our strength, but cliches exist because they are grounded in a well-known truth. And our truth at Channel Islands is that student diversity is one of our most impressive strengths. It teaches us how to be great, how to ensure we're serving the needs of all learners, and experiences that emphasize hands-on experiential learning, often through direct engagement with the incredible physical assets and industries of the region we serve. While it's true that students facing some of the toughest challenges in life are less likely to graduate from high school having completed eligibility requirements for the CSU and UC, this is not the future that I envision with my colleagues at Channel Islands and in our P-12 and community college systems. And this is a tangible area for collaborative corrective action, which will have tremendous consequences, not only for our enrollment trajectory, but for the health, happiness, and well-being of more young people and their families in Ventura County, leading ultimately to a more vibrant future for the region. In fact, our campus is embarking on a strategic planning effort for the coming year, designed in part to improve how we work with our P-12 and our community college partners. In March, we established memorandums of understanding with the Fillmore Unified School District, Santa Paula Unified School District, and the Oxnard Union High School District, introducing a guaranteed admissions program to CSU Channel Islands for those who meet A through G and GPA admissions requirements. And within the past 2 months, these MOUs have grown to include Oak Park Unified School District and Simi Valley Unified School District, and we're finalizing MOUs with Conejo Valley and Moore Park Unified School Districts. And the Ojai Unified School District has expressed interest, and the Santa Barbara Unified School District has also reached out to us. And through this agreement, we can now work with our ninth graders and their families as they start their high school journey to ensure that A through G requirements is an expectation from the very beginning, and that a clear pathway to a four-year university is at the forefront of their planning. What we're trying to avoid is students getting in the 12th grade saying, I want to go to CSU, I want to go to UC. They don't have the A through G requirement, and they have to go another path. And I want to help lead an effort to develop a truly unified educational ecosystem, potentially from birth through graduate school. And what a vision for early childhood. Our P-12 community college and university systems could ultimately grow together toward becoming Ventura County's P-20 public school system. And as it relates to our students from Camarillo, we have much work to do, but have a solid foundation to build upon. When looking at the college-going rate of graduates from Camarillo high schools, in 2022, we know that 84% attend college within 1 year of graduating, and the state average is 62%. So our students from Camarillo are doing much better. Of this group, however, 57% attend a community college, only 10% attend a UC, 15% attend a CSU, and more specifically, only 5% are enrolling at CSU Channel Islands. And with this data in mind, our goal is twofold. We want to increase the successful degree completion rate at community colleges and subsequent transfer to Channel Islands to complete a 4-year degree, and also increase the number of Camarillo students coming to CI right out of high school. In addition to our guaranteed admissions MOU, we've already secured a $200,000 grant to strengthen our support for Black student success and a $300,000 grant to support our Black and Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students. And by partnering with local high schools, community colleges, and organizations like the Japanese American Citizens League, we are expanding our reach to potential students throughout Ventura County. And these funds will be used to create a more welcoming campus environment, provide targeted support services, and develop enriching programs. We're also excited to host the Yes Youth Leadership Summit in partnership with the Rotary Club of Camarillo in the spring of 2025. And through this work, we'll be a model of best practices for improved transfer pathways and student success, empowering all students to reach their full potential at CI. And of the Camarillo students currently with us at Channel Islands, 65% identify as female, 58% identify as Hispanic, and 41% would be the first in their family to graduate from college. And our first-time full-time students from Camarillo, they are graduating at a 65% clip. Obviously, there's much room for improvement, but I'm confident that we'll continue to move the needle on student success for our Camarillo students. And our students need us to provide seamless support through their educational journeys, improving CSU and UC eligibility rates, improving 2 to 4 year transfer rates, and perhaps most importantly, investing in high-quality early care and education, because student success at all ages predicts our future for Channel Islands and for the region. And while the goal of creating seamless partnerships across educational systems is important, it will be a mistake to ignore the critical role that cities, businesses, and nonprofits play in enriching and extending the power that formal education systems provide. And during the 23-24 school year, our students actively fostered a culture of service, activism, and social responsibility through strategic partnerships. One notable initiative at Channel Islands is called CI Solutions, a self-support, student-run consulting firm founded in 2020 by Professor Aiken Pelevin. It offers students paid positions to gain hands-on experience in advertising, design, brand development research, and web marketing. And this initiative provides diverse opportunities for students across all majors to work on real-life business challenges with small businesses and nonprofits while making a positive impact on the community. And more recently, CI Solutions has successfully partnered with Women's Economic Ventures on web marketing, evaluating business plans, and earning praise for their accessibility and quality of service. CI Solutions not only transformed student experiences, but also made a significant impact on local businesses and nonprofits. In a more holistic approach, and part of our CSU CI for 2030 Plus One Health effort, I'll share more about that later in the presentation, our CSU Channel Islands Service Corps program has empowered student leaders to promote service, service learning, and community engagement in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. This off-campus high-impact internship continues to strengthen student success by fostering closer ties between the campus and the local community. Our Trail Corps program, focused on trail restoration and conservation, recently received a $4,500 donation from the Santa Monica Mountains Trails Council. This initiative aims to connect students with nature, cultivate future volunteers, and enhance students' civic and professional skills. And Corps members collaborate with the Trail Council to construct, to repair, and to maintain public trails in the Santa Monica Mountains and neighboring areas, engaging in various projects like erosion prevention structures and outreach events. And in fact, I'm proud to report that through our Center for Community Engagement, in the past academic year alone, students have participated in over 200 service learning and community-based projects totaling 29,000 hours, collaborating with 74 community partners, engaging 644 students, and making an impact and time contribution valued at $1.2 million. I'd also like to emphasize the significant impact that the City of Camarillo Endowed Scholarship has had on our students. Founded in 2006 with an initial contribution of $25,000, the Endowed Scholarship has received a total of $225,000 in donations from the City of Camarillo, with the market value now exceeding $260,000. The scholarship is granted to full-time undergraduate students who are current Camarillo residents with a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and was first distributed in 2008. And to date, nearly 70 students have received the scholarship, resulting in total distributed awards amounting to $87,000, with an average scholarship per student ranging from $1,000 to $1,500. These numbers highlight the tangible and lasting support provided to students pursuing their educational aspirations. And beyond alleviating financial challenges, the scholarships served as a source of empowerment, fostering student excellence both academically and within the community. The recipients have expressed their deep gratitude for the support they have received and continue to receive through these scholarships. And the relationships across P12 system, community colleges, cities, and our businesses and nonprofit communities will provide exciting opportunities as we implement our new academic master plan. This plan, which was approved by the CSU Board of Trustees last year, was created through a full year and a half of work on the part of our faculty and our academic affairs leadership team. Our academic master plan includes the immediate launch of some new programs, such as our doctorate in educational leadership for equity and justice program. This launched this summer and enjoyed an incredibly robust application pool, which is unheard of for an inaugural cohort. In both terms of number and stature of applications, we only had 25 spots. We received more than 80 applicants, and we accepted 27. And we're also rolling out a Master of Science in School Counseling this fall as well. And this plan reflects our commitment to serving the needs of our region and ensuring that the university is responsive to regional demands. Another way in which the campus is evolving is through our capital projects. Some of them already completed, some underway, and some to begin construction in the near future. Among the already completed projects are cultural centers for students, including a Black Cultural Center, a Latinx Cultural Center, and a Social Justice Center, all open to students in the midst of the fall 23 semester. And since their opening, the centers have already welcomed more than 700 students, totaling more than 5,100 visits. And they've played a vital role in cultivating a strong sense of belonging and community within the programmatic and student success focus areas they support. Additional projects completed this year include our opening of an esports lounge, the creation of a new student commuter center, and an expansion of our Dolphin Food Pantry. With our continued partnership with Food Share, the Basic Needs Program, a program that offers emergency support, resources, and education for student wellness and community well-being, has broadened service accessibility through the introduction of an online Dolphin Food Pantry for convenient ordering and enhanced access to hygiene products to make a more comprehensive range of services. Other major capital projects underway include the construction of Gateway Hall. I know many of you have seen that, serving as a new front door located at the end of University Drive. And the upcoming building will provide about 80,000 square feet for student services, a one-stop shop for students, classrooms, and labs for mathematics, computer science, and mechatronics engineering, as well as gathering spaces for the entire campus community. Somehow we're still on track to open in fall of 2025, and we're very excited. And planning and fundraising for our new Early Childhood Care and Education Center is progressing well. The Phase 1 project, designed to accommodate 104 children, is nearing completion of its schematic design phase. We've achieved significant progress, reaching 80% towards the established overall cost goal, thanks to substantial financial support from the state, the county, along with generous philanthropic contributions. The center will provide a supportive and inclusive environment for all children it serves, explicitly including those from low-income English language learning and farm-working families who receive high-quality early childhood care and education at little to no cost. We look forward to the partnerships the center will encourage with other early childhood care providers in Ventura County. University Glen Phase 2 development, Anacapa Canyon, is a project providing the region with housing units for more than 1,200 residents, including 310 apartments, 109 for sale homes, and 170 income-restricted apartments for seniors. And approved by the Board of Trustees in 2017, this has brought notable long-term benefits to the university. The university will receive a small percentage of gross receipts from rentals until June of 2098, when the property reverting to the university after the 82-year lease. And the University Glen and Anacapa project aims to offer housing for the community and generate income to support the campus's institutional goals, providing innovative solutions to meet the needs of the 1,200 residents it serves. And the CSU Channel Islands MVS School of Business and Economics received a philanthropic donation of $10.5 million from the Martin V. and Martha K. Smith Foundation in fall of 2021. And part of the donation has been utilized to complete the renovation of former Manzanita Hall into Martin V. Smith Hall, with an adjacent courtyard named after Martha K. Smith. The remaining funding has established an endowment for the MVS school to teach and enrich educational programs and experiences for students and faculty. Additionally, they were just on our campus today. We're working on this, but our new partnership with the Santa Barbara Zoo will establish the very first zoo-owned and managed conservation facility accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums on a university campus. This represents a unique collaboration that will benefit students, the community, and endangered species throughout the region. The zoo collaborates with various government agencies to save endangered local species, and this conservation center is designed to welcome animal students and the community members on a 60,000 square foot site located behind Modoc Hall near the main campus entrance. Progress is being made with the project, and we're expected to break ground in 2029. Current budget project is estimated at $15 million, and our primary focus now is on securing the necessary funding for the Conservation Center, which is a joint effort between Santa Barbara Zoo and CSU Channel Islands. And the Educational and Conservation Partnership with Santa Barbara Zoo provides a glimpse of the Channel Islands' next strategic planning effort, which we're calling One Health CSUCI for 2030 and beyond. Action planning will begin after a campus-wide effort this past year to engage faculty, staff, and students in conversation about the concept of One Health and how our university can advance it. In this work, we align with the global One Health movement, emphasizing the interconnectedness of human, animal, environmental, economic, and community health and wellness. And this forward-thinking approach will guide our university's future initiatives and priorities. And prior to engaging in any action planning, this year has been about researching, defining, and understanding this One Health vision for our next decade. And I invite all of you to join us in a campus-wide engagement activity currently underway, which we are calling Vision Chat. And all employees and students have already been invited to participate in this joint experience with artificial intelligence, utilizing information created here at Channel Islands to define meanings of One Health and associated strategies, and to collect information about existing teaching and learning experiences associated with those concepts. I hope all of you just take your phone, do what you got to do. But I hope you enjoy the AI experience. It really is interactive and fun, and we, of course, welcome all the feedback that you have to offer. So I want to thank you one more time for allowing me the opportunity to speak with all of you today, for your unwavering support of our campus, and for dedicating your efforts to serving our community as residents. And happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Yao, thank you very much for your excellent presentation, and thank you for all your efforts and the efforts of all of your staff at the university. Council members, do you have questions? Let's start with Councilmember Tennyson.
Dr. Yao, I guess I'm surprised at the paucity of Camarillo students that attend
Yes.
a university in our backyard. Do you have any ideas why that is? Because CSUCI's presence is very notable here.
Absolutely, and I'm looking more specifically even in fall 2023, we had 224 continuing students. We only had 30 new freshmen, 64 post-bac students. And we don't know how many are transferring because we don't have a community college here in Camarillo, but those are first-time students. So we may be getting more on the back end. We just need to take a deeper dive as to where they're coming from. So I think the factors are, for me at least, and I shared them earlier, I do believe that there is the A through G requirements are an issue, right? The fact that, I don't know what it is for the Camarillo high schools, but Ventura County, that 42% are only meeting A through G requirements. So I think we're going to have, anecdotally at least, a lot of students and families who want to go to CSU Channel Islands or another CSU or UC, but late in their senior year or junior year, they realize it's too late. So they have to go to the community college route. And I did the junior college route. It's a viable pathway. But what we're seeing is people are getting lost in that pathway. So the large majority of students have plans to go on to a four-year degree, but not everybody's making it through. So we're doing some work with our local community colleges, Oxnard, Moore Park, and Ventura College, to do a better job of clear articulation pathways and ensuring that it's timely degree completion. So one initiative we're rolling out is our dual admissions program with the CSU and our local community college. So what we're doing is we're targeting students who were admitted to CSU Channel Islands, but ended up at a local community college. We're saying, listen, we know you applied, you were admitted. We want you to know we're going to guarantee you admissions. You finish your degree in 2 to 3 years. We're going to have a clear pathway for you, and it's a seamless transition. And we want to do so with not only just students who are admitted and apply, but students who maybe didn't have A through G requirements, but are starting out at the community colleges. So we're trying to sweeten the pot at the end with scholarship money. But let me give you a good example of where maybe it's a little meandering in those first 2, 3, 4 years, however many long. The average student who transfers from a local community college here transfers with well over 80 credits. Keep in mind, at 90 units, you're a senior. You should almost be finished. So how do we ensure that students have a clearer pathway? It's a more linear pathway, because there are financial implications too. So for example, Cal Grant has a 4-year eligibility on it. So if students are spending more time in the community colleges and burning their Cal Grant eligibility, that impacts their financial aid package at Channel Islands. So working through those things. We're actually working with Oxnard College right now. It's a year-long transfer intensive program through the Aspen Institute and the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, where we're working with president to president, all of our teams on trying to be a model. What does a model of best practices look like in the transfer pathway? So that'll be finishing up in December, and we hope to use that as a model for other community colleges to serve as well.
One more question. I know you probably just addressed it somewhat in what you said, but what specific strategies with the declining enrollment does CSUCI have?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, when CSUCI was founded, it was anticipated it would have well over 10,000 students by this point in time. Mr. Kildee told me 15,000 students.
That was the master plan, was 15,000, yes. So for us, it's interesting. I would say a lot of the majority of our enrollment challenges, their external factors are real. I would say that the majority, through our data analysis, looking at it, a lot of those things are internal, and we have to own that. Things in terms of simple as our CRM or customer service management tool, that we've never had one, in 20 plus years, a functioning one that's up to date. So we're getting those foundational pieces into place. We're getting the staffing, the operational pieces. But I would say the technology is a big component for us. So a good example is even with predictive analytics nowadays. So a good example is we've had great philanthropic support over the past couple of years. So I threw almost $1 million at scholarship support to increase yield for our students. And without the predictive analytics model, okay, I'm going to wear my administrator hat. Please bear with me. It's my administrator hat for just a minute, okay? Purely administrator hat. It's hard to determine if we are giving scholarship money to students who would already be attending Channel Islands. It's not an increase in yield or recruitment. And that's great. You want to give those students money. It's great. But it's not necessarily meeting the purpose of what we're trying to do. So with the predictive analytics model, which we're moving into, we're going to have ready for the 25 cohort, we're going to be able to tailor the financial aid package to that particular student. So for you, it might take, according to your predictive analytics profile, you're a maybe student, it might take $7,000 to get you from the maybe to the yes. However, it might take you $2,000. So things like personalizing those financial aid packages is going to, I think, have a big impact for us. And the other thing is just timing. We have been notoriously slow in packaging financial aid in alignment with the admissions letter. Right? So what we're targeting to do this year with all of the technology and infrastructure we have, we're going to be sending out, our goal is to send out the financial aid package with the admit letter. Because before you get the admit letter, great, I'm admitted to Channel Islands, what's my financial aid package going to be? And they wait weeks and weeks and weeks, and other schools are coming in. So those are just a couple of examples, and things like more technology, digital marketing, right? We have good partnerships with the trade desk and others. So how do we, use streaming, so instead of billboards, and that's great, it's brand awareness, but we can't collect any data on whether or not it's moving the needle. So we're moving into more digital and targeted marketing efforts like that. So those are all things in the works, and I'm confident. I'm always cautiously confident until we see the data, but I like our plan. I think we're going to be able to move the needle on that front. And the other piece I would say is just good old-fashioned getting out there in the community, in the high schools, even before high school, right? The outreach efforts from K through 8, and we're bumping those efforts up once again. So,
Councilmember Martinez-Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a comment, if that's okay. Or do you have a question? Oh, okay, thank you. So, Dr. Yao, thank you very much for your presentation. I do have the honor and the privilege to work with you on site authority at CSUCI, and I know there is so much work that is being done by staff and all. I know there are many challenges, as many other institutions, but I do know that you have staff who are working extremely hard to lead us in the right direction. And I just wanted to extend my gratitude also as a first-generation college graduate myself. I know that you are definitely being very tactful as to how you approach many of the needs of these students to ensure graduation. And so I personally just wanted to thank you and the university for doing that as well. And I'm also very proud to be a part of a city council in a city that continues to provide financial support to the university to ensure that these students are able to graduate, these students who are citizens or who are residents here of the city of Camarillo. So thank you for everything, and thank you to our council as well.
Thank you. And the first generation student, that's the new majority in higher ed, right? And for us, I say this all the time and I'll say it again, at the foundation of that work is not trying to mold students into what a college student historically has looked like or act like, but instead embrace everything that that student brings and celebrate it, the life challenges, the narratives, the intersecting identities, the family histories, and celebrating that and honoring it for real, right? Inside and outside the classroom, in the curriculum. I tell students to make their education personal. So as you're studying these theories and theoretical frameworks, make sure you're applying that to your personal upbringing and what that means. So I think that's kind of at the heart of what we do is I tell students to bring their authentic and genuine selves. That's who we want them to bring to our campus, and we want to honor that best we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Tobin?
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
I think you have a compelling story. There's a lot of issues out there, and I'm by no means an expert, but I think the issue is right now is how do you get this message that you came here tonight and explained to us out into the general public? And you've got a great story. I can remember when it was approved, and it was a real challenge to get that approved there, and how excited that a lot of the residents in Ventura County were that we were going to have for the very first time a public
Yes.
institution. So those of us that went the community college route, and I went to San Diego State and Northridge, we had an opportunity to stay home here. So the question I have for you is, how can we help you get that really compelling message that you explained to us tonight out in the community when we do have declining demographic here, and that makes it even more challenging. But you've got an outstanding story to tell here. And my second part, and you don't have to answer this, but there's been several adorations through the years, and I'm not saying that I'm a sports guy in any way, shape, or form, but is there any thought about perhaps some sort of a sports program, just thinking of ways to put CSUCI on the map and get, more excitement about applying? And by the way, I think it's great that you got a cybersecurity
Yes.
degree now and the other degree. So you're really thinking out of the box of how are we going to, make this work in 2024, not 2000. So the world's changed a lot since then.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, lots happened in 22 years, right? So a couple thoughts to your points and questions. One, I had a good conversation with Jay Handel Evans, who was the planning president, and of course Dick Rush. We're very close. We still talk a lot. And I agree. I heard the oral history of what it took to establish CSU Channel Islands. I'm from Vegas, right? We were a long shot. We would have had to lay big odds for us to actually pull this off. And the fact that we did, it's phenomenal. So I want to thank you for acknowledging that work. In terms of how we get the word out, I think a lot of it, it's interesting. We've had a communications and marketing department for 22 years. They've done a lot of communication, but not a whole lot of marketing, right? So we're changing that. So just us doing that work, but for all of you, keep doing what you're doing. You are our biggest ambassadors in the community. Reaching out to us where if there are places we need to be, connecting with your colleagues, your network, we will be there, right? So please just keep doing what you're doing in terms of ambassadors, spreading the word, and reaching out directly to me or my team about where it might be beneficial for us to be in those spaces where you're navigating. In terms of the athletics, it's interesting. That's been a long discussion, 22-year discussion at Channel Islands. And I would say before I came in 2018, I came as Vice President for Student Affairs. I remember prepping for my interview. I knew it was a point of discussion, so I did a lot of research. There was actually a consult done, and it's interesting. There's different routes to go. One would be the NCAA route, whatever, Division II, Division III, whatever they call it now. And it was an interesting proposition because with NCAA, you can't just have one or two sports. You can't roll it out by one or two sports. You have to have a number of sports off the bat, and you have to have men and women's sports equally, compliance office. So the investment up front for a growing university was very challenging. The other route was the NAIA route, which is a little bit, it's not NCAA, but it's a lower level for smaller schools. And that was a more potentially feasible plan where you can start out with 1 or 2 and roll it out. I don't know how I feel about this, but they didn't require a formal compliance department. It was more kind of self-report. I shouldn't say that. It wasn't self-report honor system, but it wasn't as structured in terms of the compliance. So those are things that we're looking at. And honestly, right now, I would say this, though. For me, as we're navigating enrollment challenges, we're navigating budget crises and resource restraints, my focus primarily is how do we ensure that we're meeting the regional needs through our academic programs first and foremost. And it's interesting, I was talking to someone the other day, think about the 3 largest industries in our region: agriculture, Navy, and the port. And we've only done very little in meeting, specifically targeting those areas. Agriculture, we don't have, we're not a Cal Poly, so we're not agriculture port, but we have different things that meet it, different aspects of that. With the Navy, we have a mechatronics engineering, but that's a niche program. They have many more needs. We have computer science, cybersecurity, so we're meeting that. And the port, a lot of good things, but nothing comprehensive. So for me, with limited resources, I want to make sure that we're going all in on the educational programming to meet the needs and just about academic excellence. As we stabilize enrollment and continue that growth trajectory backwards, I think it's definitely open for that discussion in terms of if we want to go that route. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Yao, I just wanted to thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It was a really comprehensive presentation, and I appreciate the partnership that we have with you, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you for being here.
So I've got a couple of questions, Dr.
Sure.
Yao. Again, thanks for the presentation. Just a couple of things that struck me. In terms of the guaranteed admissions for K-12s, and you spoke about reaching those with several, well, in that case, they would be high school districts or unified school
Yes.
districts. But in terms of Ventura County Community College District, you talked about articulated pathways, admission pathways, dual admissions, but is there a formal MOU set up between VCCCD or the individual 3 colleges and CSUCI?
Not yet, right? And that's something Chancellor McLennan and I have been talking about. How do we develop a more systemic type of collaboration? So a good
That's
example.
where I'm going with this.
Yeah, because we do a lot of work. For example, Oxnard College, we have an MOU to share data, right? We have a data sharing MOU so that we're able to provide now, them information on what are your students doing when they come here? What's the graduation rate? Not only that, but what's the bottleneck? So if you're a business major, we may be seeing DFW rates in this specific economics class or something like that. So we can work with the faculty there. How do we prep our students better to coming in? So we're doing a lot of that work. In fact, we have all of that data for all of our local community colleges. And I was just chatting with President Julius Sokanu about that. And we talked about how can we share that data with the system, right? And so that we can develop more pathways. So we have all of that data, and I think we can do some good work. To me, that's always a good starting point, is looking at a shared data set to provide information on what our baseline is, what are the numbers, and to identify the pathways moving forward. So there's some work to do there.
There may be work to do, but I think that results in some, that leads to potentially concrete results.
Yes.
In terms of your enrollment. The other thing is, I found it fascinating. I think the advanced degrees, the new advanced degrees that you're offering, I wish the slide was on longer, but that's okay. I was looking at it very quickly. I mean, including cybersecurity. But I found the fact that you're doing an MS and a master's in school counseling, a
Yes.
master's of science in school counseling. To me, that really fits the needs. I went to school, some people say in the Triassic, other people say in the Jurassic period. But what happened with me in high school way back when is our counselors drilled into us the A through G requirements. And if that's an impediment, then it is so extraordinarily important to get that with actually starting in middle school and then with 9th graders. So in terms of building up the counseling presence in the high schools, have you given any consideration to having specific pathways for school counselors at the K-12 level to perhaps enroll
Yes.
in an MS degree in counseling at CSUCI so you strengthen those bonds?
Oh, absolutely, and that's our target audience, quite honestly. And it's interesting, with our doctorate of education, same thing. Our superintendents, our colleagues at VCOA have indicated this is a need for our professional staff. And it's interesting, as we're navigating enrollment challenges, really thinking about the prioritization of these new degree programs because, you know, these cost, right? So we're investing. Even though we're cutting other areas, we have to be very targeted in where we're investing. There's a dilemma for me. Graduate programs, number one, are expensive, and number two, they're not huge enrollment drives because you have limited cohorts. But we made the decision, our priority is the regional needs, and this is something that emerged through the educational kind of P20 ecosystem, and those are what we prioritized, and we can see the response already for the EDD program, and I know I don't have the final numbers on the school counseling program, but we're already at capacity, so there's definitely demand, and that was our target audience, our local P12 counselors, school counselors.
And just three final and brief comments. One is Councilmember Tennyson's questions were pressing, particularly given the numbers of students graduating from Camarillo High School and matriculated to CSUCI, and I'm looking forward to seeing more information behind that.
Yes.
Secondly, I want to compliment you and your staff on the academic master plan because that took months, I know, to do.
Yeah.
And so your staff and your faculty and administration did a wonderful job on that, and that will lead, I think, to help in this area. And finally, can I put in a plug? I've been part of the Rotary Club of Camarillo for many years, and I've taught one of the component classes at Youth Empowerment Summit at Rancho Campagna the last 2 years. So, putting in a plug for having it at CSUCI.
We love it.
That'd be a great
We'd
great
love it.
venue for it. All right. Any other comments from council members? We want to thank you for being here. Thank you, your staff, for being here. We are keeping a good thought, and whatever we can do to support you in your efforts, we're there.
Thank you so much, everybody. Good evening.
Thanks for
Thank
making
you.
time for us. And you can certainly stay around. This is a really interesting agenda. No, I'm okay. All right. We're going to go to council and staff comments and reports. Who wants to start with council comments? I'm looking at Councilmember Tennyson, who raised his hand. Let's start with you.
Okay, July 11th, I attended the RDP meeting, the local appointment committee meeting, and the VCOG meeting. On July 18th, Economic Development and Land Use Committee meeting, and on July 22nd, the Investment Committee meeting, and on July 25th, the VCOG Admin Committee meeting. And I just wanted to share that I had the opportunity to attend 3 of the 4 Concert in the Park series, and I can tell you, and I saw many of the other council members there, that these concerts on Saturday evening throughout the summer are extremely well attended and really appreciated by the community. And I think that the city has done a good job of funding a large portion of this, and I'd encourage us to continue and work with the Park District and maybe expand it to 1 or 2 more concerts during the summer, so it gets up to what it used to be. It's a great community event, and everybody really appreciates it.
Who wants to go next? Everybody rush. Vice Mayor Kildee, you
I'll
ready?
go, yeah.
Okay.
July 23rd, I attended the Utilities Committee meeting, and July 25th, we had a special meeting for Ventura Regional Sand District. I attended that. Ditto what Councilmember Tennyson said about the concerts at the park. And I believe this week is the air show. Am I correct about that? Yes. So it's always a really good show. And hopefully most of us, if not all of us, can attend at some point there. So that's all I have.
Who wants to go next? I'll jump at once. Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. Okay, on July 11th, I attended the Local Appointment Committee, CPA Board of Directors, and Airport Authority. On July 13th, I did the introduction at the concert at the park. I was able to make 2 of the concerts this year, and they were really well done, and I agree with Councilmember Tennyson. On July 14th, I attended the Eagle Scout Court of Honor ceremony for Caleb Rosa. That was my first Court of Honor ceremony, and I ended up knowing the family, and it was really special, and I was really, really happy to be there. July 24th, I had the Healthy Camarillo Ad Hoc Committee, and then later that day, the Top 10 Awards with Mayor Tremblay. And on July 25th, I attended the Policy Committee. And I think that covers it. That's all I have.
Councilmember Martinez-Bravo.
Thank you, Mayor. July 31st, I attended the West Ventura County Business Alliance Meet Your Elected Officials Mixer out in Heritage Park, or Heritage Square in Oxnard. And on Saturday, this past Saturday, I also had the privilege to do the welcome intro to our summer concert with PVRPD Director Bev Dransfeld, and ditto to the comments about the summer concerts. It was a really fun night. That night was also a National Night Out with our Ventura County Sheriff, so thank you, Chief Tennyson, for your continued work with and leading the sheriffs, and it was just a fun night for the entire family. On August 12th, I attended a closed session meeting with Site Authority at CSUCI, and August 13th, yesterday, we all attended the Crossing Guard breakfast. It is back to school time, and so I wanted to just extend my gratitude to our crossing guards, because they really do such an amazing job at keeping our children and our families safe. It is a hard job. I am a mother of 3, and last year it was 3 different schools, and I know we're all busy, but definitely I just ask that parents and caretakers take extra caution during these busy times. So thank you to them. And today is also Tip a Cop with the Ventura County Sheriffs, and that is supporting the Special Olympics. It's actually happening today from 5 to 9. So if you'd like to attend, it's at Finney's, at Finney's Craft House today from 5 to 9. Thank you.
All right, for meetings, I attended on July, let me turn on the mic, there we go. On July 11, together with Councilmember Santangelo, I attended the Airport Authority. On July 12, I had 2 Metrolink Board of Director committee meetings, Audit and Finance and Exec. On July 23, the Utilities Committee with Mr. Kildee. On July 24th, the Healthy Camarillo meeting with Councilmember Santangelo, and I think we did the top 10 awards that night or the following, right? July 25, a Policy Committee meeting with Councilmember Santangelo. On July 26th, I had a Metrolink Board meeting in Los Angeles. July 27th, I got to introduce the Eagle Tribute Band, which was great, at the Summer Concert Series, and I was able to attend 2 other concerts. I missed this the final one, but ditto to what everybody else said. Kudos to city staff and in particular to the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District staff for a great job. On July 29th, St. John's Hospital 50th anniversary celebration. On July 30 to August 2, I was at the CASA conference in Monterey, which I want to talk about in just a minute. On August 9th, Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency Fiscal Committee. On August 11th, the Camarillo Ranch, just last weekend, had a history of the Camarillo Ranch horses, which was really fun to attend. And then yesterday, August 13th, the Crossing Guard breakfast for our school crossing guards, who we treasure. They do a wonderful job. I want to speak about a couple of quick things. First of all, at the CASA, the California Association of Sanitation Agencies Conference, I didn't do it during the Sand District meeting. I just decided to do it now. Went to a number of presentations together with Councilmember Tennyson, but 2 in particular were valuable for us. One is funding sources for our wastewater infrastructure and facilities, and that's all on top of our minds because we're looking at 2028, 2029 with a very large wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation project. And the second on progressive design build. In other words, how do you design or how do you build these facilities? Traditionally, you get if you're a municipality, you get an engineer that designs it, you bid it, and you build it. But in recent years, and we were together with Dave Klotzel, our Public Works Director, at this conference, there is new legislation that has kind of expanded that to allow for design build and progressive design build. So we want to look at that. I definitely want to look at that in Utilities Committee within the context of our upcoming project that's going to occur in about 4 to 5 years. Finally, for Camarillo Ranch, this is the history of the Rancho Camarillo horses, and it started on August 11th last weekend, and it runs through December. It's well worth going to if you have the chance to go, and I really compliment the Camarillo Ranch Foundation and staff for all the work that they have done going into it. So that's it from me. And that will bring us to, oh, sorry, any staff? Mr. Ramirez, anything from staff? Anything at all from staff? All right. All right, we're going to then proceed now to consent. Are there any items that any member wishes to pull from consent? I want to pull item H, but I need to go last. Is there anything that anybody wants to pull? Could I hear a motion with respect to all consent calendar items with the exception of item H?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez-Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kilby,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, record will reflect that was adopted on a unanimous vote. On item, if I can cover item H right now, if that's all right. This is on our Neal Road mixed-use affordable housing construction documents. This is the professional services agreement to prepare those. And I raised a number of questions with staff in the last couple of days, and I know I raised, it wasn't 20 questions, I think it was at least 12 questions. But I think a few of them are really important to me because basically this is the professional services agreement to do the design for that project. But my questions were leading toward a more macro view. Okay, where are we going with this? And in the report, in the agenda report, there is the reason that we are putting this through at this time is that if I'm understanding it correctly, is that we have an application in for ERF, what's called ERF funding from the state, and we're going to find out later this month or in September whether or not we achieve grant funding for the project. Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
And is my understanding also correct that because the grant funding timeline is so compressed, in other words, if the city gets a grant, let me back up. I understand that the grants are very competitive, right?
Yes.
Right, so
they
we
are
don't know whether or
competitive.
not we're going to get a grant. But I also understand, am I correct in understanding that if we get a grant, we have to actually start construction by January of next year, January 2025?
The grant doesn't mandate that, but in our internal timelines to, I guess, carry out the 50% expenditure requirement that's due in January 2025, we think construction in January or early 2025 would be necessary to meet that expenditure requirement.
What I'm focused on is the fact that we're paying, if I'm understanding correctly, staff is recommending that we adopt this agreement, which has about a 15% increase in its costs for design services to meet the compressed timeline that we want because of the pending application for ERF, right? So about is it correct, about 15% of that total PSA cost is attributable to trying to meet this very, very compressed timeline?
Yes, approximately 15%.
So I guess one way to look at it is, do we spend that additional 15% in the hopes that we would obtain that grant, which is a very competitive grant process, right?
Yes, it is very competitive.
If we get this set of design documents, regardless of whether it's, when it's prepared, and we let's say hypothetically that the city does not receive the ERF grant, do those design documents go stale?
We don't have concerns about them going stale in that the building official has authority to grant extensions as long as essentially progress is being made forward on any construction project. So with that in mind, we're not so concerned about the documents themselves going stale.
Okay, but on the other hand, if the city does not receive the ERF grant, then is there any contemplation that we would be proceeding with physical construction of the property at this point?
No, without the grant, without funding, we would not proceed with construction.
And my understanding, am I correct, that the estimated construction cost at this point for the project is slightly in excess of $6 million?
Yes.
For physical construction?
Yes.
And is that based on what is being spent for Vista Compañero?
It is. Yes, it's an extrapolation with some modifications. There's no parking structure, things of that nature.
Do we know what that equates to on a per-foot basis?
Not off the top of my head, I'm so sorry. I can, of course, get that for you.
Okay. And I recognize, again, we're just talking here about the design agreement, but I'm just trying to figure out what our game plan is for the future. And so if we adopt this agreement tonight, we're not hamstringing ourselves in any way, correct? The plans aren't going to go stale.
No, the plans will not go stale, and we're not hamstringing ourselves.
And there's no environmental review issue here from a CEQA standpoint, correct?
Correct. The CEQA document wouldn't go stale either, just because it's already been reviewed as a 9-unit project. It's gonna, proceed as a 9-unit project, so we have no concerns about the CEQA document going stale.
The city's already done an RFP for construction of the project, right?
Yes,
Okay, and we had a respondent, at least one respondent,
we did, mini mansions.
Many Mansions, and we're in communication with Many Mansions on how that might move forward?
We are. We're still reviewing their proposal. There are some things we want to discuss with them, but we have started tentative communications with them.
I think one of the aspects of this that, I guess it would be fair to say that one of the reasons we want to have these plans in place is if we don't get the the city doesn't get the ERF funding, having the plans in place and ready to go is going to allow us much greater leverage in additional grant applications, even if we don't get state ERF money, because it'll be shovel-ready. Is that the reason why to do this?
Yes, absolutely. Most grants have additional points they award for having a shovel-ready project. There's even, for instance, the accelerator grant. It's passed, but it's an example of it was only eligible for shovel-ready projects.
Okay, because it's a significant construction cost or estimated cost at this point associated with this project that I don't think council has discussed yet. We haven't really discussed sourcing, but we're at the point where we're actually doing design plans, and I just want to make sure I know where we are in the process. Final question. Assume for sake of discussion that the city moves forward with the project, whether through ERF grant funding or otherwise. Who holds title to the property, and how does it get operated?
Yes, so the model we discussed with Mini Mansions, or what they proposed, was they would administrate the project. They didn't lay out in their proposal the ownership, so that's something we could discuss. I think there's advantages to the city maintaining title, but maybe there's also disadvantages, so that hasn't been locked in yet one way or another, whether we would maintain ownership or we would cede that to the operator with a agreement in place to carry out the city's objectives for the project.
Assuming that the council, one last question, assuming that the council approves the preparation of the design plans, et cetera, would the intent be from staff to come back to council and then provide council, well, we'll know next month, I guess, whether the city will get the ERF funding, correct?
Yes.
But would the intention be in 3 to 5 months, whenever the design plans are done, to come back to council and give us a status report on the plans, how they've been done, and then where we are pointed toward in the future? Because I'm hoping that staff would do that.
Yes.
In other words, this is an incremental thing that we're doing tonight, a little incremental thing, but I kind of want to know big picture where we're going with this.
Absolutely. I think we would both do a 5-month check-in, but even at the point where we were hopefully awarded the grant, to even accept it, we would come back to council and ask for your permission to do so.
Okay, all right. Thank you for letting me ask a bunch of questions, because I was trying to understand from the staff report which was a good staff report, but I was just trying to understand where we were. Thanks for letting me monopolize time with a lot of questions. I think based on the answers that have been provided, I'm in support of this. I'm in support of, from a fiscal standpoint, it's an additional premium to get these plans done now, but it's uncertain whether or not the city would qualify for an ERF grant. But on the other hand, even if we don't have that, there are still other potential grant programs that we can enter, or loan, or I suppose tax credit programs too, where if you've got the design, tax credit programs, where if you've got the plans ready to go, we have additional leverage. So for that reason, I'm in favor of going ahead and approving this. And if nobody objects, I'll go ahead and make a motion to that effect. So I'll move approval of the recommended item.
Second.
All right, so any questions? Councilmember Martinez Bravo.
Yeah, no, I definitely support staff's recommendations. The only thing that I will say, based on the questions, and thank you very much, Mayor Tremblay, is the part about maintaining ownership. I think that is a very important discussion that I personally would want to continue to delve into. That's
Agree.
my only comment.
I agree. I want to do the same thing too, so, and have a chance to discuss that at length.
Thank
Okay, I
you.
think I heard a motion and a second. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kilby,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, the matter's approved on a 5-0 vote. And that brings us, before we go to discussion items, that is going to bring us to our general public comments at 6 p.m. Yeah, 6 o'clock. We're on time for public comments. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the City Council on items that are not on the agenda tonight? And it looks like we have at least one, and we've got a blue card. And
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
if there is anybody else in the audience who wishes to address the council on a non-agenda item, please fill out a blue card and provide it to our city clerk. And I'm going to call for public comment, Bob Garcia. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, thank you for your time. Hey, just a quick comment on that CSUCI. You guys know I'm doing research on our Camarillo Fallen. We're going through the old newspapers. They were discussing a university for Ventura County in the Camarillo in the 60s. So that's how long. I couldn't believe it when I read that. So anyway, I noticed it was established finally in 2002. Anyway, I'm here to continue my campaign about changing the name of Constitution Park to Veterans Park. I've given you some handouts with some new information. I put some articles in there from guys that were killed, Mike Moritz from Somas, Louis Kimmel from Camarillo. There's articles about guys that were wounded, guys that got medals. The thing I wanted to point out tonight mainly was there's two guys that I believe should be added to our plaques at the corner of Carmen and Paseo Camarillo. One was Marine Private Steve Page. He dropped out of Camarillo High School as a junior and joined the Marine Corps, and he was killed in Vietnam. He was an infantryman. The article says Hueneme Marine, but he was attending Camarillo High School. I haven't found out how that was. Maybe the mother moved there afterwards, or I don't know, he was living here and went to school, but his mother was in Hueneme. I don't know. The articles didn't delve into that. And the other guy was a warrant officer in the Army, a helicopter pilot named Donald Bruce McCoy. He was killed in Vietnam. He married a gal from Camarillo, and they were living on Glen Drive when he went to Vietnam, although he was raised in Thousand Oaks. So I don't know. I don't know who would make those decisions, if their names go on there or not. And that's part of my other questions while I go through this is, who do I contact, or I'm just throwing this out there, for the status on this project, because I've been working on this for a year, and I've been in front of you guys several times. I know there's Brown Act issues that you have to be careful of, but I need some direction on that. Also, I don't know if it's too late or not, but no matter what happens with the park issue, I'm wondering maybe we could start naming some streets like the new development. Maybe they already have names, I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there, planting that seed in your guys' mind. The other couple of things I wanted to mention, I think we should have was that my time?
You got time.
Okay. Maybe we should have a Veterans Advisory Council made up of volunteers to advise the city, and maybe a veterans office for the city manned by volunteers. I mean, I would gladly do it, and I have friends that I know would do it. So I just throwing these out there for consideration, but I don't know if I'm still out there pounding the pavement trying to get people to email. I don't know how many you guys are getting, because sometimes I have recontact with them and they say, oh yeah, I forgot to do it, or whatever. So I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. I mean, I'm still researching this, and it's, you know, I was a little shocked that I found these two names of guys that potentially should be on the plaque out there at our veterans display on Carmen. So that's my time, and I appreciate you letting me speak to you. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, thank you very much. Thanks for your continuing advocacy on this. I think as far as status is concerned, I know this matter's been in the policy committee. I think we're waiting. I think staff is continuing to work on this. I don't have a date for you when this will be on the policy committee agenda, but I would expect it would be in the next few months. And so that's the status. We're continuing to work on it. So hasn't been lost in the shuffle. It just things take a little bit of time. With respect to the plaques, I don't have a good response for, and the names on the plaques don't have a good response for you, but that's something that could be a course of continuing conversation. So thank you for your
But just
your
so you know,
comments.
when those plaques were installed, you know, they were donated by Alex Kreider out there at Conejo Memorial Park. And I told him to make sure that names could be added. And he said you can add, it's possible to add names to those.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, I'll pay for them myself if that's what it takes. If you guys think these guys qualify.
What I would ask is you share that information you gave us tonight with staff if you haven't
Staff,
already done
like
so.
who?
Our city staff. So for example, Ms. Nichols, our assistant city manager, who's
Oh,
sitting
yeah,
over
okay,
here.
yeah.
If you could speak to her, that would be great.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other public comments from members of the public on items that are not on tonight's agenda? All right, thank you. We'll then go ahead and proceed to our next item. Actually proceed to discussion items, and this is going to be on ordinance 2021 with respect to salaries of city council members, and I think our city attorney, Ms. Richmond, is on this one.
Yes, at the July 10th council meeting, the city council voted to introduce the ordinance adjusting council compensation and amending the municipal code. That was done by a vote of 3-2. This evening is for the consideration of adoption of the ordinance. And if any council members have questions, I can answer those questions.
Any questions? Do we hear a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
No.
Vice Mayor Kildy,
Yes.
Mayor Tremblay.
No. That item is adopted on a 3-2 vote with Tennyson and Tremblay dissenting. And thank you, Ms. Richmond. All right, we now go to item P, which is, I am very excited about because it's been a long time coming, but it's a MOU between the city, the Healthcare District, and Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District for our Healthy Camarillo initiative. And I want to welcome Lisette Torres, a Senior Management Analyst, to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Tremblay. Good evening, City Council. I am excited to be here to provide you an update on the Healthy Camarillo initiative following the formation of the ad hoc committee in February of last year. The Healthy Camarillo initiative, just to provide a little bit of background and context, was introduced as part of the fiscal year 2020-2021 strategic planning session, championed by then Council Member Tony Tremblay and Charlotte Craven. The initiative was inspired by the Blue Zone project, aiming to promote health, wellness, and longevity across the Camarillo community. Given the significant costs and resources required to have a Blue Zone designation, the City Council instead adopted the objective to explore the establishment of a public-private community wellness initiative tailored specifically to Camarillo's health needs, and drew inspiration from the Healthy RC initiative in Rancho Cucamonga, which is a city-led model that encourages a comprehensive community-wide approach to healthy living. Following this shift, the Healthy Camarillo Ad Hoc Committee, together with members of the Camarillo Healthcare District, the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District, and local health professionals, began exploring the top health issues or concerns facing Camarillo residents. This exploration was guided by the findings of the 2022 Community Health Needs Assessment developed by the Ventura County Community Health Improvement Collaborative. The top health priorities that were outlined in the 2022 Health Needs Assessment include mental health and substance use, chronic health conditions, and access to health care. At this point, I want to introduce a guest, George West. He's the Vice President of Mission Integration of the California Region of Dignity Health, who is joining me here today to talk a little bit more about this community health needs assessment.
Hi, George. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff, and people of Camarillo, you are really lucky to live here. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Now, after that, some of the information that I present to you may be a little surprising, but I think it will help guide you in your decision in forming a strategy for healthy Camarillo. The Ventura County Community Health Improvement Collaborative is made up of the 3 not-for-profit hospital systems that are in the county, and then you can see our others, Camarillo Healthcare District, Clinicas, Gold Coast, and then of course the county itself. So we've come to realize 6 years ago that we couldn't address a healthy community by ourselves. We had to collaborate, even with our competitors, to make this work. Our findings over the past 6 years, and most recently in 2022, lead to guidance on where we need to go with regards to health. We look at the people of Camarillo. This is our most recent look at the census. If you don't know, it's the 124th largest city in the state of California and the 527th largest city in the United States. You can see your ethnic diversity there. You can see your insurance laid out. 95.7 people have health insurance coverage. That's disconcerting because that means there are still people in Camarillo that don't have health insurance coverage, but you can also see the sources of it. You can also see population estimates that were recalibrated after the pandemic on growth in California. We can see that this is probably going to be across the entire state, all the communities. What was originally estimated as a growth of 13% is now down to a 1% growth for the state of California. That's something you have to take in consideration as data. I love this chart. There's a lot of data on it. The average lifespan in Ventura County is 81.4 years. We know this by looking at every death certificate over a 3-year period, every single one, seeing where people died and where they were located in their zip code. The great news is Camarillo is above that average. The better news is if you live in 93012, you're even better off than the people on the other side of town. What this also validates is something that we've known in healthcare for a long time. Access to healthcare is essential. If you look at the top of the line, 90.5 years, that's Westlake, Thousand Oaks. Those people have access to healthcare at an on-demand level, while the people in Santa Paula are 78.6 years. They have more difficult problems with access to healthcare. So this data validates what we already knew. This also tells us pre and post pandemic. We did this 3 years before and then this past 3 years. Where have lifespans gone? And you'll notice that the average lifespan has gone down everywhere except in Thousand Oaks and Westlake. Again, access is really important. People seeking prevention, people seeking health care regularly, not putting it off. If you look at the leading causes of death, for everybody in this room, the best guess is you're going to die of heart failure. That is the leading cause of death, looking at every death certificate in the county of Ventura. However, if you look at the zip codes and people who die in their zip code with that zip code address, if they die prematurely, that is younger than the average that they should have, that's what we want to look at because that's potentially something that's preventable. Okay? I mean, that's sort of reasonable. These are the leading causes of premature death in Ventura County. Number 1, cancer. Cancers, then diseases of the heart, then accidents, then drug-induced deaths, and then you can see COVID-19 is number 5. So when you compare leading causes of death versus premature causes of death, and then we color-coded this, it's sort of all over it. But I think the important thing to realize is that cancer has a significant cause of premature death in Ventura County, and that includes Camarillo. What are those types of cancers? Female breast cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer. And the reason why I outline those 4 in red, what do we know about those 4? They're preventable. You can get screened for all 4 of those things. We can prevent premature death by cancer if we can get people to seek out screening. The hospital itself has actually put in a lung screening machine to help enhance preventing cancer in our community. Of course, we did the other three before we got the lung screening device, but we're actually trying to help this along. So what do we know from our data? And if you'd like a copy of the larger report, I can get it for you. We're working on a new report to be published in 2025. Promote healthier lifestyles, promote early cancer detection and screening. Those are the big two things that we can do to help people live longer in our community. These are the VCHEC priorities with a lot of detail on them as Lizette spoke about. And if you want to know more, you can go to www.healthmattersinbc.org, and you can actually take some of this data down to the plot within your city, not just by zip code. So, questions?
Thank you, George. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Stick around, because we might come back to you later. You never know.
I have a
Vice Mayor
comment.
Kildee.
Yeah, George, maybe you can shed some light, because I read an article that upwards of 40% of the cancers could be and may be eradicated if people would do basically three things. Obviously, quit smoking, exercise, and calorie, food consumption. Is that sort of what's out there for the most?
Yeah, the reason why I get this is that the departments within the hospitals that report to me are community health departments, and these are departments that are not working within the hospital, they're reaching out. And those are the sorts of things we're trying to encourage people to do. Seek screenings, lead healthier lifestyles, learn how to eat better, have a walking program. Seniors get together and walk. Probably seniors are walking more than the rest of us in the community because they have the time to. And it's doing that helps you live longer.
And so access to health care is super important for longevity then. Is that I can glean from your
Absolutely.
discussion?
That's what this data proves, which is and access is a multifactorial thing. Do you have health insurance? Do you have a doctor? Can you get to your doctor? Do you have transportation? You have CAT here that helps people do that. Is a doctor's office open when you need to get there? And if anybody has tried to make an appointment recently, they know it's out there pretty far, so you've really got to make plans in advance. So it's that access aspect in all of its forms that's important.
Okay, thank you.
George, thanks very much. Please stick around. Lisette, I think we're back to you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this collaborative effort that is outlined in the MOU. So inspired by the important health needs of the Camarillo community described by Mr. West, the three parties have formalized their collaboration through the proposed Memorandum of Understanding. The MOU outlines key commitments, including identifying resources, developing health programs, coordinating marketing efforts, and establishing a governance structure to ensure effective implementation. The structured collaboration aims to foster community engagement, enhance public health infrastructure, and address these pressing public health needs. The partnership brings together the unique strengths of the organizations, including the Camarillo Healthcare District's expertise in wellness, the PVRPD's focus on physical activity and recreation, and the city's commitment to public service and education. By combining these efforts, the parties can make health and wellness services and education accessible and more effective, and bring greater visibility to programs that are already in existence and potentially inspire new activities as the needs arise. If the MOU is approved, the next steps include forming a core working group with the representatives from each agency, setting goals and objectives, exploring resources and staffing options, planning a kickoff event, and potentially bringing forth a new MOU once the ideas have been fleshed out. The recommendation to the council this evening is to authorize the mayor to sign the MOU, marking the official launch of the Healthy Camarillo initiative. This concludes our update, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thanks very much, Lisette. Are there questions with respect to the presentation? Vice Mayor Kildee.
Yeah, so the other potential partners, obviously we can't speak for them, but have they obviously been consulted and been part of this through the timeline that we've been dealing with? Are they somewhat on board with this? In other words, have their questions been answered so they can start this process and perhaps go to the next step?
Yes, so the partners have been meeting over the past year with the ad hoc committee, and this MOU was actually developed in collaboration with their representatives who have been at the table since the beginning. This is the first body to adopt the MOU, potentially adopt the MOU, and so the next step would be for each of the other entities to bring forth the MOU to their governing bodies.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Any other questions? Councilmember Tennyson.
A comment and then a quick question, and probably my question first would go to the city manager. It says that there's no obligation to provide staffing or for any of the entities involved in the MOU to have any financial expenditures as a result of this. Clearly, if we sign this MOU, it will in fact impact workload in the city manager's office. And I'm curious how much of an increase in workload, and would we ever be forced, or would we ever be in a position to have to add staff as this moves forward?
If I could answer the second question first, I think that's yet to be determined. I think that's a decision, a policy decision the council will need to make, and you can make that decision at a later time. I feel comfortable that our current staff could handle the existing workload required to do this based on this MOU.
And do we have a timeline, once this MOU is signed, for the ad hoc committee to come back and provide a roadmap or frequent updates on the direction we're heading with this?
I'll defer to Lizette on that. She, I think, has a little better feel, but we're talking, 6 months as opposed to a year.
Right, so I've been working on potential work plan that does cover a 6-month period to sort of kick off the initiative that would look at resources and staffing needs and other types of formalization to the collaborative process. And so that's what we're looking at to launch the initiative, and I feel confident that by that point in time we would be prepared to provide an update.
Thank you.
Let's go to comments. Do you want to start with comments? No. Okay. Who wants to start? Anybody?
I can start.
Councilmember Martinez, probably.
Yeah, so I actually got very excited reading this report, and I know this has been brought, we've discussed this before, I believe, in our goals and objectives meeting. I think this is definitely something that I do support. My background is in mental health. I grew up with a grandmother who had schizophrenia. Mental health is something that I do prioritize, and I do know that based on the report, that mental health and substance use are significant concerns here in our community, and I'm sure throughout the nation, with a nation with an increase in depression and isolation. And what I want to just be sure of is that we are addressing those issues within the partnerships that we are taking on, and to be very conscientious about that piece, because that is a significant part of what we are doing. And for me, it's also important to look at cultural factors, protective factors. My dissertation was on substance use and abuse among Latino adolescents. And we looked at treatment, and we also looked at preventive factors or protective factors. And so, for example, being bicultural was the most significant protective factor for this population. What does that mean? That means that there is a young person who is able to look at their own culture and appreciate that, and look at also the majority culture and appreciate that as well. And so I just want to, the direction that I just wish to provide, and I mean, this is something that I'm very passionate about, I'm always open to providing suggestions, is to ensure equity and inclusion as we go through this process, and most definitely include the focus on mental health, because that is a significant need for all people here in our city.
Who wants to go next? Councilmember Santangelo.
I'm excited to have this be brought tonight. I've been on the ad hoc committee with Mayor Tremblay, and I was pleased that he asked me to be a part of this. Being a nurse, obviously this is right up my alley. I think we're really lucky in this city to have 3 entities that have come together that really want to look at the needs assessment and look at what the needs are for our community and try to be responsive to those. And that, of course, is the Healthcare District and PVRPD. And I think we're lucky that we have resources and the desire to do this. And so thank you, Dr. West, for being here. I appreciate all your work and your guidance for us. It's very much appreciated. I obviously support this and would like to see it go forward.
Who'd like to go next? No? Vice Mayor Kildee.
Yeah, couple of comments here. We've been talking about this for quite a while now. And what I'm hearing, it could be simply access to health care equals, to a certain extent, longevity of life. So if this is approved, I'm going to look forward to seeing what the MOU details about what is our intent, what are we trying to accomplish here, and how are we going to get to what we're trying to accomplish here with our goals, wants, and desires for this. Most of the time, the City Council and the City of Camarillo, when we get into these type of partnership, are asked to be the majority financial contributor of this. The other 2 organizations, I think they do an outstanding job, but they have relatively small budgets. So more than likely, we're going to be asked to be the ones that are going to financially support that. And that's fine. That's okay. We can certainly do it. But I don't want this to be something that we come up with this initiative now and it's shelved here and we never really get feedback about the success rate of this, because I think we've got a real chance with this to do some really great things here, but it really has to be done right. The goals, wants, and desires really have to be streamlined, and they have to be very specific about what we want to do here and how we're going to fund it. So I would look forward to seeing in the MOU when all these, issues and desires and goals, whatever we want to call them, get thoroughly discussed here, that we come back with the final, document here that maybe we can get us up to other, neighboring cities up here. I think we can do it. But there's a lot of work ahead of us here, and I look forward to seeing exactly what's going to happen with this in the future. So those are my comments.
Thank you. My comments are, I have a couple things I really want to say. First of all, I am really pleased that this MOU is in front of us, and I want to compliment Lisette. I want to compliment you on your work on it. I want to do a real shout out, thank you to Charlotte Craven and to Councilmember Santangelo, to Mary Otten from Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District, to Carol Ralston from Camarillo Healthcare District. And there have also been several private healthcare practitioners. We've been working on this now, pre-pandemic. We've been working on this since 2019. And originally the idea was to see whether or not we could try to do a blue zones type designation for Camarillo. And the staff report does a great job walking us through the different iterations on how we've come from one point now to this. I was inspired at a League of Cities meeting way back pre-pandemic by what Rancho Cucamonga was doing. And they've taken their program in a little different direction. We're focused here on healthcare, and the city is not in the healthcare business. But Lisette, I think you pointed out what business we are in. Which is education and quality of life, principally. And when you have a chance like this, I really believe in the value of community wellness in our city and in our area, and I think it goes directly to improve our quality of life. And when you have a chance to collaborate with other public agencies, you really try to do that. But that's not all. What I foresee happening here is a substantial contribution from private healthcare providers, a substantial contribution financially as well, what I'm hoping for, Vice Mayor Kildee, from private healthcare providers, including area hospitals and the major health plans. Because this, I anticipate, I envision, and I'm hoping that this ends up being what we call a public-private partnership. And that a lot of the financial load on this would be on the private sector who would be participating in this. So this MOU itself is a baby step. It's more of an aspirational document than anything else, but it focuses on the three primary healthcare needs that the county collaborative has focused on. And specifically with regard to Camarillo, it also includes both of the issues, Councilmember Martinez-Bravo, that you articulated. And so this doesn't result in any fiscal impact to the city at this point. It does result in some staff time and continuing Councilmember Santangelo and I in our work on this. And again, I praise her efforts, and I praise Charlotte Craven's efforts from the city standpoint as well as staff. So this is the first modest baby step, and I'm just happy that it's in front of us. If everyone is okay with this, are there any other comments on this? Then if it's okay, can I exercise prerogative and make a motion that we adopt staff recommendation on this, if that's okay with everybody? Second. All right. We have I don't usually do that, but this time I will. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez-Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kildee?
Yes.
And Mayor Tremblay?
Yes, and that was adopted on a 5-0 vote. Lisette, thanks again for all your hard work on this. All right. We are now going to the desalter standby well project, and I think we have Mr. Campero up to the podium. James, welcome aboard.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I think evening's the appropriate term. The summer sun's got me a little fooled here, but my name is James Campero. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director. Appreciate the opportunity to present on the desalter standby well project and our recommendation to award a design agreement and get started on this important project. A little background on the major desalter project. The desalter was constructed and came online in 2023. The desalter makes use of the otherwise unusable brackish groundwater and produces high quality drinking water from it. It now produces approximately half of the city's water supply, which is about 4 million gallons per day, and it also reduces our dependence on imported state water. The desalter is supplied by wells A and B, and in order for the desalter to run at full capacity, both wells must be running continuously. Hence the need for the project to construct a desalter standby well in order to provide much needed redundancy in water supply for the desalter and ensure it's continuously running at full capacity, and again to reduce the need to purchase expensive imported state water. In general, it's estimated that if one of the wells were to go down, it would cost the city approximately $3 million per year and rising. As we kind of all know, quality water is a hot commodity and in limited supply, so imported water, state water costs are subject to change, and usually that trend is rising, not cheaper costs. A couple things also to note here: this well will be rotated in use with the other two wells, so it'll also help extend the life of the existing wells. But most importantly, the standby well will allow for continued operations, not just if well A or B go down, which is not too far-fetched of a notion given the age of the wells and that the fact they're currently running continuously nonstop, but also during periods of regularly scheduled maintenance, and also for those longer periods, longer, more costly periods of unplanned emergency maintenance situations. So here's the aerial view of the desalter, wells A and B, and the proposed standby well. Just for orientation purposes, Las Posas Road is on the bottom of the map, with Ponta Rosa Drive to the left and Lewis Road to the right, right side of the map that's shown here. Wells A and B are located near Ponta Rosa Drive and the Dignity Health St. John's Hospital. And we zoom in here to the desalter area. And as you can see, there's a large dirt area on the west side of the desalter property, and that was set aside for the proposed standby well project. So the proposed well would be conveniently located adjacent to the desalter, which would also allow for on-site nearby utility connections. It's pretty convenient there. So in order to get a qualified firm that's specialized in well design, staff advertised a request for qualifications, or RFQ as we call it, to provide the well design services in December of last year. Unfortunately, no design firms actually proposed on the initial solicitation for the project. This has been one of, if not the biggest challenge in our unique remote Ventura County area. And unfortunately, it's gotten a little worse with the shrinking and limited number of high-quality engineers and engineering consulting firms. Kind of feels like nowadays things have switched where we're actually the ones aggressively seeking out and pursuing engineering firms instead of the other way around. So staff did a little additional outreach and pursuing, and then advertised the RFQ in February, a second time earlier this year. Fortunately, 5 firms ended up submitting for the design services for the second solicitation. And the consultant selection committee ranked the 5 firms, then interviewed the top 3, and unanimously selected Wood Rogers, Inc. as the most qualified firm to provide well-designed services for this project. Wood Rogers has significant experience in well drilling and well equipping, both in terms of the firm as well as their staff that they had proposed for this project. They have experience working on similar types of well projects and have worked with local well contractors. And actually, they're currently working with the city on the Charter Oaks Pump Station project, and we've been pleased with the quality of work and management of the design for that project. Staff then negotiated scope of work and proposal with Wood Rogers. Well projects, or new well projects, are actually a little different than our other capital projects in that there's essentially 2 designs needed for the project. One for the well drilling, and then one for the well equipping. So the designer needs to actually develop bid documents for the well drilling. We award a well drilling construction contract. Then the designer performs construction inspection and design services during the drilling operations. They then investigate the drilling and subsurface well conditions, take that into account, and then do it all over again for the well equipping, right? So they put together another bid package. They then award another construction contract, followed by design services during the well equipping construction. So a very complicated process that involves a large specialty design team, actually consisting of a principal project manager, a project engineer for well drilling, project engineer for well equipping, a hydrogeologist, a geologist for the well drilling, a civil engineer for the civil work, and an electrical instrumentation engineer for the well equipping. So again, you'll see that complicated process reflected in the price tag, which we had kind of expected. As always, any contingency or other savings during the design process would be transferred and used towards the construction work. But again, for this type of complicated work, when you're drilling far beneath the surface, there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of potential to run into unforeseen items there. But this is what our team does and what we're used to. So we're excited to get this project started, which essentially leads to staff's recommendation to award a design agreement to Wood Rogers in the amount of $938,318, with a contingency of approximately $141,000, for a total agreement authorization of $1,079,118. That concludes my presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions council or the public may have.
Okay, let's start this off. Do any council members have questions? Councilmember Tennyson.
Thank you. Quick couple of questions. If wells A or B went down, what impact or effect would that have on the desalter's output at this time?
Yeah, so as I'd mentioned, we produce, the desalter essentially produces 4 MGDs. So they essentially split that well A and B, so that it would be cut essentially in half. And as I had mentioned, if one of those wells went down, it would be the equivalent to a cost of $3 million per year additional to what we do now.
So both wells A and B are operating at full capacity right now?
All the time, continuously, nonstop.
And with the addition of this new well, will it have greater capacity than the wells at A and B?
It'll be similar. It actually is still to be determined because we have to actually drill the hole, do some analysis. But the thought being it would be at minimum the 2 MGDs, if not more. The target's actually a little over. Obviously, we don't want to oversize it, but that'll be determined during the design process.
With the addition of this new well, my assumption is that it will extend the useful life of the current well A and B. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, so we won't just have that well sitting off to the side. We'll have it in rotation. So not only will that allow for regular maintenance of all the wells, that means they're not continuously running nonstop. So that's the goal, because those wells A and B are actually pretty old, and we've been rehabbing them, but definitely a worry of ours, to make sure that there isn't maintenance, and definitely not major maintenance that occurs prior to this well going in.
Thank you.
More questions? Vice Mayor Kildee.
Yeah, thank you. So I think you answered one of my questions, the maintenance of a standby well, but you were saying if and when it does get constructed, it'll be in the rotation here, so the maintenance should be about the same as it is on wells A and B?
Yeah, correct. It'll be a newer well, so there'll probably be less maintenance, but it will allow us to do regular maintenance for those older wells A and B, and continued maintenance for this new well.
And was it part of the original idea that where we're going to put this well, because it's designated, has it been designated there since inception?
Yes, my understanding is that that's why that area was set aside, which will also help us during the construction, because that's part of the challenge, also finding a good well site. But it being adjacent to the salter also makes for, less piping, utility connections that are right there next to it.
And I think we got 5 bids on this, was that right?
Correct, 5
Is that,
firms.
seems to be in this day and age, that's quite a lot of interest there to get 5 bids. And if that's the case, have you done some background checks and some checking on wood with references with them?
Yeah, correct. And as I had mentioned, we actually did the initial RFQ and didn't get any responses back. So we did a little more outreach, I guess, and so we were pleased to get 5. And yeah, we went through a thorough process, including the initial analysis, then the interviews, and then ultimately selecting Wood Rogers. And luckily, they're actually working on our Charter Oaks pump station. And we've been very pleased with the design and management of that project.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Councilmember Martinez-Bravo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just for clarification, to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. So currently, about half of the water supply to the city is coming from the desalter, with wells A and B running at like full capacity.
Correct.
And adding this additional well, the max would be still at the full capacity, but we don't know if that would actually increase the capacity overall. Is that my understanding?
Correct. We would still maintain that for MGD. It would just allow for rotation, and hence the standby well, so it's available as needed. I believe that's associated with the desalter in terms of how much water it's at, or the capacity of the desalter itself.
Okay, so we don't know necessarily if that half could be increased as of yet, or if that is even a target.
Correct. That's not a target of this
Okay.
project, or
Got it.
this specific project. The 4 MGD is what the desalter runs at in terms of full capacity. So it's not built to run higher than that. This just allows us to maintain that 4 MGD. Our concern is if one of those wells went down,
Sure.
now our production would go down, but that desalter still has, costs associated with keeping it running. So it just allows us to maximize that use of that, great facility we have, which is the desalter.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
James, thanks for your presentation. Just, can we go back to the prior slide? Can you clarify for me under the design scope of work, the 2 designs, bid packages, and services during construction? In the attachment for Wood Rogers, there's a basis of design report, and then followed thereafter by a description relative to design. But can you just talk about the 2, just clarify for me the remark on 2 designs?
Sure, yeah, and so for a new well, it ends up being essentially almost 2 designs, as I was mentioning. They'll actually drill the well, and then based on that information, so they'll put together a design to actually bid out the drilling portion of the project. Then we would bid that project, get a contractor on board. They would actually do the drilling, and then we'd have our design team interpret all that information, inspect that information that we gathered from the drilling. Based on that, they would equip the well, put together the design associated with that, put together another bid package, and actually bid out for the equipping portion.
Okay, so that wouldn't necessarily then be part of a basis of design report. In other words, there wouldn't be a component for that in the BODR?
Correct.
Okay, it would be after that basis of design report is prepared.
Right.
Okay, all right. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll throw it back on us. Comments from the council? What's the council's pleasure?
I'll move the suggested action.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kildy,
Yes.
and Mayor Tremblay.
Yes, and that was adopted on a 5-0 vote. And James, thank you for all, and staff. Thanks to you and thanks to staff for all of your work. All right, our next item up is our only public hearing item this evening. It's item R, which is the proposed zoning ordinance text amendment to allow pet cemetery uses in the professional office zone. And I think we have Michael Cepak. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Welcome aboard, Michael, and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Mike Cepak, and I'm here to talk to you about a non-city initiated zoning ordinance amendment to allow for pet cemetery uses in our professional office zone. So to give you a little bit of background on this application, what used to be the Griffin Mortuary and Family Home have recently been purchased by Ivy Lawn Memorial Park and Funeral Home. The property is zoned professional office, and since pet cemeteries are currently not allowed in the PO zone, the applicant has submitted an application for a zoning ordinance amendment. Staff presented the request to the Planning Commission during the April 30th, 2024 meeting. Following staff's presentation and after receiving public comments, the Planning Commission expressed some concerns about the compatibility of the proposed use and the potential for the cemetery use to constrain any future redevelopment. The commissioners then unanimously voted to recommend a denial to the City Council. Although the request was made by Ivy Lawn, the ZOA would affect the entirety of our professional office zone. So shown up here on this slide is, in yellow, is the 3.169 acre Ivy Lawn site. To zoom out a little bit, the surrounding uses are professional office, which we can see here towards the west, and then also north. To the southeast is the Wood Ranch Barbecue. Struggling a little bit with the pointer, apologies. And then further to the east is the Paseo Camarillo Shopping Center, which houses a currently vacant movie theater, as well as a mix of restaurants and other commercial uses. Now, the slide you're looking at right now shows the geographical distribution of our professional office zones across town. All of these areas marked in blue on this map signify properties zoned as professional office. It is important to note that a ZOA would affect all of the above locations, which includes the location of the current location of the Ivy Lawn home, but also other locations such as the ones by the hospital in Camarillo Springs or by the high school. Okay. In looking at this proposal, staff reviewed its consistencies against the general plan, the Camarillo Municipal Code, and the Economic Development Strategic Plan. The general plan designates the PO zone as either for public or office uses, which broadly speaking include uses such as churches, schools, medical, legal, utility, and other administrative offices. The use being proposed here would be incompatible with these and inconsistent with the general plan designation. In terms of our municipal code, the professional office zone was created with the intention of providing for professional, clerical, and administrative spaces that meet the modern standards and needs of our professional community. The use being considered here today is not consistent with that intent. And finally, the Economic Development Strategic Plan considers high-quality office developments as one of its strategic group action items and recommends that the creation of new offices and business parks be prioritized. A cemetery would not create the desired environment. Additionally, pet cemetery uses are subject to applicable laws and regulations, compliance with which retains the potential to curtail any future redevelopment opportunities on site. In conclusion, based on staff analysis, the recommendation is to find that the proposed ZOA is exempt from CEQA and to find that the proposed ZOA amending Chapter 19.22 of the Camarillo Municipal Code does not meet the intent of the general plan, the Camarillo Municipal Code, or the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Therefore, the recommended action here is a denial. Thank you.
All right, before I open up the public hearing, and if the applicant is in attendance and hearing from the applicant and any members of the audience, do any members of the council have questions for Michael regarding this item? Let's start with Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. Are there any zones that existing now that do allow for pet cemeteries in the city?
We do have zones that allow cemeteries. The nature of a cemetery is not defined in our municipal code, so the interpretation is there to be made.
Okay. What would be the process if this did become a pet cemetery and then didn't? What would be the process for then that land?
So the owners have the option of dedicating the land as a cemetery. It will be a dedication recorded on the property. And in pursuing that option, they gain certain advantages. Once that is triggered, there is a certain process defined in the Health and Safety Code on how to remove that dedication. Broadly speaking, they would have to seek, it would be a decision by Ventura County High Court, and the judge would seek concurrence from all of the owners, pet owners, to agree to remove the remains.
So it's pretty complex.
I would imagine so. Having not gone through the process, I can't speak to it, but certainly reading the Health and Safety Code, there's certain hoops to jump through to remove that dedication from the property.
Okay. My final question, I understand that if we were to allow this change, that it would apply to the entire, to all those areas that are zoned this way. Could we not write the ordinance to allow pet cemeteries only in certain conditions so that they wouldn't be allowed blanket across the zone?
That is a possibility. There's a couple of things to consider. One is the council would still have to make the findings of consistency with the general plan, the municipal code, and the economic development strategic plan, and any other adopted documents. The other hurdle, if you will, is that should the ordinance be written in a way that constricts that use to one specific lot effectively, for example, if one were to say in conjunction with an existing mortuary and a historic home, That would likely be tantamount to spot zoning, which is not permissible under California law.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Who'd like to go next? Councilmember Tennyson? Yes.
This may be my ignorance, but if this is not consistent with the general plan of the city of Camarillo, why wouldn't it require a non-city initiated general plan amendment?
So because it's inconsistent, there is the potential that should this be allowed to move forward, a general plan amendment might be required.
Having gone through a GPA, non-city initiated GPA referral last year, those things drag on and on and on. And
They
it
are
would be
lengthy.
greater expense for the city to be involved in that and staff time.
The city would have to take in an application if that was the case, which of course incurs a fee, and that fee would cover staff time.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I don't have anything.
I have no questions, just comments, yeah.
Okay, what I'm gonna do now then is, since these questions have been addressed, I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the council on this item? If you would like to address it, right. If I can acquire the city attorney, do we have a time limit on these items?
I believe we just give them the 3 minutes. I don't think there's any additional.
Hopefully, have you provided a speaker card to
No.
the clerk? Okay. Well, please, if you could identify yourself.
Yes, of course. My name is Jeannie Clark, and I am the general manager of Ivy Lawn Memorial Park and Funeral Home. And some of you I recognize, and most I don't. And I ask you to forgive my ignorance in the government process that you have to go through to get this even on the table. Number one, it's not easy to stand up here and see deny recommendation on the agenda. I've been denied 2 other times in other committees related to this same issue. It's not easy for me, although I like Mike very much and respect him, to listen to him give me a lecture on cemeteries. Number one, Ivy Lawn Memorial Park has a cemetery in Ventura. It's a historic cemetery. It's a nonprofit cemetery, and it's been in existence for 115 years. So the applicant in this case is a very qualified applicant to know more about a cemetery than you probably even want to know. And I'm listening to everybody that has been in front of you before me, and things ring a bell. You know, Ivy Lawn took the bodies that you exhumed from Springvale and you put them in our cemetery, and we want that we take everyone. And the largest population of unidentified people who died at Camarillo State Hospital are buried in Ivy Lawn. There's a lot of connections with Camarillo and Ivy Lawn, and I want that to be said, because we're not just an applicant on a piece of paper looking for something to do. This is what we do. And the reason that I'm even here, and the reason I'm making this effort, because again, I already know you're going to deny it, but I'm still here because I want you to know, in the death care industry, people need to be heard. And the reason that we need to do something for pets is because they matter, and people love them as family. And when someone comes to us and we are the authority, and they need help because they're grieving, and we can't help them, I'm not going to stop till I can. And so that's why we're here asking for a pet cemetery. Again, the property in question here is next to a barbecue restaurant. Professional offices is all I hear, but that isn't. And then we have the mortuary in the front of this property, 3 acres. I just want to put it in perspective. So the mortuary has been in existence for 7 decades. It's never been anything but a mortuary, and it is still a mortuary, and it will remain as long as we own it. And in the back is the Daily House, which was residential, never anything commercial, never professional office, always a home. And in between that is a parcel of land which is probably slightly over an acre. Is that my cue?
That's your cue. If you could just wrap it up, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the middle is an acre parcel of land. And so we thought, in harmony with a mortuary and in respect for the historic property that we have on the property, how do you combine that and meet the needs of something that you know people want? And that's why I stand here before you with the pet cemetery idea.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Are there
Do I
any
stay
other?
here?
No, go ahead. Have a seat. Thanks. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward. Provide us with, I know who you are, but provide us with your name, and you've got
Yes.
3 minutes.
I'm Joy Todd. I'm president of the Pleasant Valley Historical Society. And I just, as a historian, that's why I'm here. 3 minutes. I'm on behalf of the Pleasant Valley Historical, and our interest is in preservation of the daily home and the property of the Ivy Lawn Mortuary. Ivy Lawn comes before you with a proposal that needs your help. The property has the existing mortuary, the historic daily home, and a vacant area in between. They are looking for a compatible use that would be helpful to the community and round out the property for long-term use. It would offer a restful place for people's pets. The amendment that would be needed might be better characterized the permitting use of the property as a mortuary with a pet cemetery. This would only be for mortuaries and not particularly the remaining properties that you had colored out, which we appreciated that. The PO zone is characterized for places of business, for employment, and to serve the needs of the area. It would not be a big generating of jobs and business like an outlet, but it would serve those who could benefit from it on a low-key basis. The city's general plan community design element does not call out for ways to preserve the daily house and other historically important features of the community. Ivy Lawn's proposal goes to this point, while preserving the beautiful home from the past generations. Take a look at PVHS Museum, which is under construction and got walls today. It too is zoned PO. It consists of a building for a museum, and we thank the city of Camarillo for that. It also includes parking for visitors and a garden. The garden is enjoyed by many. It's an ancillary to the use of the property for a museum. The pet cemetery would be ancillary to the mortuary. And I thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this item? Before I close the public hearing, going once, twice? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Who would like to start discussion on this? I'm looking at Councilmember Tennyson. Would you like to start?
First off, I just want to ask clarification again, because I had been previously told that we couldn't define a particular lot or property within the PO zone without impacting the entire PO zone, and I believe I heard something contrary to that tonight.
In terms of the use, it's the question whether we could just engage, write an ordinance to just engage in that kind of use on that specific property. So the answer to that question would be the council or staff as directed could craft an ordinance that constricts the use in a certain way. For example, in conjunction with a mortuary and a historic home. The difficulty with that is that it could be seen as tantamount to spot zoning, which is not allowed under California law. Essentially, it would be similar to us wanting to rezone a parcel, just that particular parcel of land, and to allow that use whilst not rezoning the remainder of that zone. There's some case law to support that, and should the city be engaged in a legal action, you know, we could potentially be found to spot zone that property.
That's consistent with what I'd previously heard. The other thing is just another clarification. If this is inconsistent with the general plan, why wouldn't the step be a general plan amendment referral from the requester as well as the rezoning?
I could add some color to that, that answer. The city council tonight is taking a discretionary action on the item. The city council staff has provided a recommendation, and that recommendation identifies that this is not consistent. The city council, if it felt that it was consistent with the general plan, could arrive at a different conclusion, and that would not require a general plan amendment.
Okay, now comment time. I appreciate the sentiments of the applicant. I've had the unfortunate duty of having to euthanize pets that were family members. It's a difficult time, and maybe I was fortunate that the veterinary services I use almost remind me of funeral directors in the way they handled my family's response to that pet that had to be put down. I think we have options as families that have pets in our lives, and those options include having them cremated and the remains returned to the owners, which I know many, many people have done. I personally am uncomfortable with trying to change a specific area in the PO zone with the possible impact of impacting the entire PO zone. And I just don't feel like this is the location to address this issue, so I would oppose this request.
Who wants to go next? Looking around. Who wants to?
Sure, I can go.
Councilman.
First of all, thank you very much to the applicant. Ivy Lawn, I know, is a reputable organization, and you serve people when they are the most vulnerable, and I really appreciate that. And my decision is in no way contrary to what you do, nor is it contrary to people, you know, whether it's a decision about whether we support pets or not. It's really a decision based on whether I am comfortable or not with the zoning ordinance text amendment. And at this point, I actually am not comfortable with that as well, with that zoning ordinance text amendment, as I do believe, you know, based on the report, verbal and in the written report, that it will have a significant impact on the whole PO zone, which I'm not okay with that at this point.
Let's go Vice Mayor Kildee. Go ahead.
I want to start off by saying that I have the utmost respect for Ivy Lawn. My grandpa is buried there, and my mother is buried there as well. They've got over 100-year relationship with the cities and the residents of the county here. There's nothing personal about this. Bottom line, in my opinion, with this is that it's just you don't have the zoning for what you want to do with this right now. And it's somewhat inconsistent with our economic development strategic plan. And if we were to go forward with this, it would have a strong potential to impact any of the other professional and office zoning in the city of Camarillo. Now, there's a few opportunities, but the proposal is not for that opportunity out there. I can think of, I believe, 2 of them off the top of my head here. I believe the corner of Mission Oaks and Adolfo, and potentially the Pleasant Valley Road and Poncho here. But it just doesn't fit into what our strategic plan is here and the zoning. And I know all of us do, but I really pride ourselves with the zoning. I take it extremely seriously in the city. I think we've done a relatively good job with our zoning throughout the city here. And to me, this is inconsistent with what we've done for a long time here. So those are my comments on this.
Councilmember Santangelo.
So I sit on the Economic Development and Land Use Committee, and I want to thank the applicant for being so responsive, because she's been at all of those committee meetings. She's been to a planning commission meeting, and she's here tonight. So I want to thank her and thank her for Ivy Long and their service to the community. I really want to approve this. I actually think that this land is a perfect place for a pet cemetery. I think there's a market for it, and I think that it's something that is needed. Unfortunately, we do have our general plan and we do have our zones, and the only way that I would be able to move forward with it is if we somehow made it so that it didn't apply to the entire zone. And I'm seeing that that is not really a path forward, not one without a bunch of legal implications and other things that could come down the road. And so unfortunately, I'd have to agree with the staff report and deny.
Okay, that just leaves me, and again, I want to thank the applicant as well. I appreciate the idea of a pet cemetery, theoretically. This has nothing to do with Ivy Lawn. I appreciate Ivy Lawn's services, and I think my fellow council members have recognized that. It has everything to do, though, with the zoning laws and appropriate zoning, so it's not personal. The zoning ordinance, this would affect the entirety of our professional office zone. I am sensitive to the fact that we have the W.P. Daily home there, and I want to see that preserved. But if we were to undertake this action, I share the same concerns as the other council members. This is not an appropriate way, in my personal view, to do land use. And my concern is that it could cause invalid spot zoning. And if we as a council were to approve the zone change for pet cemeteries for just one location versus a total zone change, my fear is that it would be found to be impermissible spot zoning. And I can't in good conscience put the city in that position. So I'm going to oppose this as well. I think all 5 of us have now spoken to the issue. Do I hear a motion?
Move staff's recommendation.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Councilmember Tennyson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kilby?
Yes.
And Mayor Tremblay?
Yes, that motion is adopted on a 5-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Seeback, for your presentation. I think, trying to get the agenda back out in front of me, I think that actually brings us to the end of our agendized item. Madam City Attorney, did we have any closed session report this evening?
There was no reportable action from closed session.
No reportable action? All right, any other business to come before the council? I don't see it. With that, we are adjourned at 7:13.